lady. Are the microphones all on? You don't want my purse sitting on top of one of them? I see. Jane, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I hear a motion of the minute approval?
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Old business. And Mike has graciously provided us with written updates. So we can attach those to the minutes. You all get one? You got one? Okay, Mike.
As of this morning, the MAPCO, the red buds along the front of the road at MAPCO have not been pruned. And if they have, I don't see cuts on them, so, but there's one that's actually, that's on the furthest west point there at the front that is rotting, and it will probably need to be replaced. So, but am I supposed to meet with them, I guess?
I think the last meeting that I was going to set up for you and I to meet with them to supervise the pruning. I didn't know about the new tree that you mentioned.
Yeah, I
about.
just saw it.
Yeah. So I didn't do it through the holidays or anything, so
Yeah.
that was the
I'm
last
ready.
meeting.
According
This is
to the
pruning
minute,
time.
according to the minutes, MAPCO had requested a $300 check from the corporate office. Have we gotten that? Is that what that is? Here.
That's the receipt.
And so that money went into the tree
It
fund.
will go into the tree fund. Yes, ma'am.
Jane, you want to attach this to the minutes?
Our tree fund's up this month.
And Mike had told you that he wanted to be present when they did the pruning.
Yes,
To be sure it's done properly.
right. But we didn't know about, I didn't, and he didn't know about the disease tree.
Okay. And according to this, Mike Berkeley will get in touch with Mr. Travis with MAPCO to set up a time for the pruning.
Oh, really?
You should have read the minutes, had that corrected. So,
So Wayne, I guess you and I will talk about, okay.
okay. Walmart?
Okay, as of today, all the plants are there. However, the pines were not fully replaced with pines. They were also replaced with a cultivar of the southern magnolia. And the cultivar, I cannot tell which one it is. It's not a straight species. But as far as meeting the requirement of having an evergreen tree along the perimeter and meeting the size and numbers of trees, they do meet that.
So does this mean that Walmart is officially in compliance?
It was not the original design, but there's been a couple of variances on the Walmart landscape since they've installed it initially. And as far as I'm concerned, in following the ordinances, they are in compliance.
I think we should have some kind of this is like, we should now use the champagne. Check, finally, okay.
2016 is gonna be good.
You don't know how many calls I've made on that.
How many years has it been?
And I followed through on it the last year. So,
Okay,
even though Frank was here, supposed to be following, I was checking on things.
fast pace?
Oh, okay.
It's right here on your little sheet.
Yeah. Oh, well, I thought we were going down the old business.
It's not on the agenda.
I'm so sorry, but never mind.
It's not in that order on the agenda. It is on the agenda.
Okay. The roadscapes project, I'm sorry, I was looking at Mike's thing instead of the agenda. I apologize. Do we have an update?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Okay.
The bid opening will be the 12th of this month. After that, there will be a pre-construction meeting with TDOT. That takes a couple of weeks. Mr. Loesch, Andrew Krager with Loesch and Associates seems to think that within 4 to 6 weeks, we'll be ready to plant.
Just in time for the,
Yes, ma'am.
correct?
That's good, actually.
And what about the dedication? What we,
We'll do that probably, since it's so close. I think after we start getting the work started, that'd be a perfect time, and we'll maybe discuss that at the February meeting and see if we can see how close we are actually to seeing the trees and et cetera being planted. Maybe we can catch a good warm day in February, because February has a tendency to have some good warm days occasionally. I know some of my best horseback riding days was in February, in a short sleeve shirt, so,
Also in March is the Tennessee Arbor Day.
yes.
So
So we
that's
might
another
arrange it around that too,
potential.
yeah, so,
do we have the sign ordered?
no, we haven't, we will take care of that.
Okay. And we've approved the wording and everything? I know there were some
I believe
suggested
y'all, it
changes.
said something about beautification.
Committee,
Right.
think we
Do you have that
wanted-
in
we
the,
wanted to
you have
see-
that in the meeting, in the minutes,
I
Jane?
think we wanted to kind of see a final wording
Okay,
option, just to make sure,
yeah.
and the
Why don't we-
spelling of the name was incorrect. in
Why don't
the
we put that
second.
on next month's agenda,
okay.
and so that we can all come together on the wording on that. And the mayor did want me to apologize. She had a previous engagement tonight, the reason she's not here.
She warned us last meeting that she would not be here.
Thank you, Wayne. Review and provide additional details and information on recommendations sent to the BOC from the April 2015 Tree Commission meeting. Any update from,
I did not get any updates. Wayne, did you get any updates from Patty on anything from,
No, ma'am.
can we forward that to the
February?
February meeting?
Sure.
Review of Title 13, Chapter 4, Section 13, remaining sections starting at Section 13-420. This will also include a review of the current approved tree list. I don't have mine. Thank you. Tell you, I ran out of the office. And I think we kind of discussed this last month about the, we're at 2.
420.
Not 2. That's just your second. Are we at 420, number 2?
13-420.
Here, according to the agenda.
Yep.
Okay. No clearing, grading, or tree removal prior to plan approval. Prior to any clearing, grading, or removal of trees from any applicable site, a tree protection plan shall have been reviewed by the Tree Commission and approved by the Planning Commission. Do we have any questions about that? I know that last month we had the question about the subdivisions, and I'm assuming this is still kind of in that. The tree protection plan will ensure that the clearing, grading, and/or removal of trees will be performed in accordance with good flood, erosion, and sedimentation control practices. I mean, do we need to read all this word item by item, or does anyone have any questions about any of these things in this?
Mike, has anything changed as far as the recommendations or standards for protection of trees that?
No, not really. You mean across the board and
Across the
other
board.
ordinances, municipalities? No, it has not. I just want to make sure that on letter G, could you read that? Al?
G,
G?
grading,
Yeah.
filling, and ditching in the tree protection area is prohibited.
Yeah, okay, so I just want to make sure that is, are you talking about what's up above there? Because are you talking about this whole list? Everything in here is pretty much what other ordinances would do.
Okay.
The last one on the G is the, we'll get to that on one of these.
And by the way, I had a meeting where I'm working with a builder in Franklin who builds big, huge houses. And he was talking, they're getting ready to build a house for one of our agencies. And he was talking about having to go to the city of Franklin because they're going to have to take down a tree possibly. And he said he had no clue where I was from, knew nothing about me at all. And he was saying this county has done such a good job with their tree ordinances. And he said even Fairview has done a good job. And I thought, well, and then everybody else in the room started laughing because everybody else knew where I was from. Yes,
Fairview.
even Fairview has done a good job with their tree ordinance. So I think, Mike, we have you to thank a lot for that.
Oh, okay. I think we all want to protect the trees. And I want to go ahead and make this comment on this, about this, is that this is so appropriate that we're reading through this because on our new business, in item 6.1, you know, if you read it, we'll probably go back to this because of some of the things that I saw at that other site, yeah. So this is appropriate that we're reading this.
And did you have any changes to G, or is that just one of the ones that,
Well, that, you know, no, I don't.
Is there I sense a hesitation.
No, I have no changes. To me, it's, I don't know, either it's very vague or,
Grading, filling, and ditching in the tree protection area is prohibited.
to me, and knowing what an excavation is, that means you stay completely out of that tree protection
In the
area.
protected area.
Yeah. And,
Well, that's kind of what it says, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Okay.
I mean, does anyone read that differently? Is that not happening?
and even if you go back up to C, it says nothing shall be placed inside the protected barrier.
Including but not limited to construction materials, machinery, chemical or temporary soil deposits. When paving, excavation, or hardscape must be done within the barricades shall be moved back to a secondary location at the edge of the work. Extra care must be taken by the contractor to ensure that no damage occurs to the tree or its roots. Is that good?
That's good.
I think that D, is that no utilities shall be installed in the protection area unless it is approved by the city engineer? Wayne, do you know if that's being enforced?
In all caps, for some reason.
Since I've been in charge of codes, we hadn't had a chance to enforce it.
Then the tree list. Are there any changes that have been made or need to be made, or, I mean, we've updated, didn't we update the,
Shrub list,
We've added the shrub list. but
Okay.
We haven't updated or revised the large or small tree list. And the only comment I remember hearing a while back was about the loblolly pine. If we wanted to
of
leave it.
removing it.
About
Oh, yeah.
removing it from the
Yeah.
list.
it's on the list.
Yeah, well, you know, it's, this is Fairview, and, you know, we already know what, I mean, we're actually spending some equity in this community of removing the loblolly.
Are you recommending that the loblolly be removed from the list?
I don't see any reason that any commercial application would be using the loblolly.
Okay.
There are two other pines listed there. So.
So we'll send that recommendation to the BOC, that we remove the loblolly from the approved tree list. Is there anything else, Mr. Berkeley?
Nope.
The understory?
Nope.
Okay.
We need to make this a formal recommendation so that everybody on the tree board agrees.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we send a recommendation to the BOC that the loblolly pine be removed from the approved tree list?
Move to approve.
Discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
So, we have finally finished this.
We have finally finished the ordinance. Another celebration. Okay, the fast-paced clinic update?
Yeah, there are 6 of the Taylor red cedars. It's a columnar cultivar of the Juniperus virginiana, which is on our approved list, and they are planted behind the building.
And so they're officially also in compliance.
They are, however, there is still, and I keep driving by there looking at this and been meaning to call the landscaper about it, but they actually left one of the big trees, I think it's an oak, sugar maple, in the front, still tied up. This happens because sometimes if you don't cut those open before you put them in the hole, you better have a pretty good lift to get up there and cut them. So that's sitting right on the front. Wayne, I don't know if that's me, do I call him, or
Do you know the landscaper?
I have his number.
Okay, just give me a call.
So
But
you'll,
other than that, they are, as of today, they are in compliance.
so you'll follow up with the
I
landscaper
will.
about the,
So we can check another one off our list.
almost, a half a check. Once they get the stuff cut off the tree. Report on Community Park Day?
Yeah, that was an amazing thing. The weather was great, worked out for us compared to the previous year. And you may recall that last year, we did the tree planting for the Fairview Grove, and did it in the park and put some hardwoods where the loblollies were being removed. Nasty weather. This year, the sun was out, a little chilly, and what was great is to see all these kids come out and volunteer. And the educating potential of when we do these community park days to that generation is mind-blowing, mind-boggling. They were introduced to some bad plants. They were introduced to invasive exotics, predominantly privet. And I was able to obtain some loaner tools, some what we call weed wrenches, which is 5 to 6 foot long handled tools that you can actually grasp around the neck of these privet. And it was fun to watch kids, adults, women, everybody grabbing these and lifting and pulling them up. And it was done right there at the stage, around the stage at the band shell, I guess you call that. And what an impact that made. But it was educating, is to say that, okay, we know that we want the good things, the native species to thrive in there, the pretty wildflowers, the indigenous oaks and so on, but some of the bad things that were in there, and it was pretty cool. And if you don't, I tell you, it's really something. This I see it snowballing. This community park day that we do every year, and I think you get a kick out of it. You know, helping in. There was some painting that was being done at the restrooms as well, but most people joined in on removing the invasive exotics. But it was a very successful day.
And in Park Day around Miss Bowie's birthday?
The first week, first Saturday in December.
But ended, or what was it, Wayne? Why did they choose that date?
I believe you're right, on her birthday. I can't remember if it was anything other than that.
Maybe that's one of those things we need to talk about more so that people will understand why we're doing it. Thank you, sir. New business. The meeting place.
Okay, I met with, I guess he's the on-site excavator named Clay. He didn't give me his last name. Handed in my card today, this morning, and told him about, you know, the protection fencing around the trees. I took photos there. They have, and I'm just confused about this. They have removed a lot of trees out of there. I took photos of some of the logs that were left there, and they are 10 to 12 inch diameter trees, the ones that I saw. And then some were completely removed off the property. And I've got the plans from back then, and I pulled all this out while I was there and looked, and someone's going to have to refresh my memory, because nothing I have here showed anything about the true inventory that was done in that protected area. And then, Wayne, you probably know about this, but there's a huge hole there that they dug out, and the guy was telling me that the reason they dug that out in that protected area, and that's why I had you to read that part at G of that 6.1. But is that they used that soil, my understanding, they used that soil to put under the pad over by the building, where the building's been. And then they will take somewhere some dirt, as he put it, and put it back in there. Well, to do that, he had to, of course, go into that protected area. He had to dig that out. There's right now, there's a beaten up old kitchen chair and a couple of pallets laying in the bottom of that, which I'm, you know, none of us are so naive to think that that will be removed. It will be buried. And so and then, as Wayne can probably explain to us, is that the retention pond got moved down slope. As the guy told me, is so that they would allow some playground area behind the building. So this whole area that, let's see.
What month did this come to the tree board? Does anyone remember? Wayne, do you remember?
The dates on this,
Back in the summer, wasn't it?
yeah.
So,
And, you know, and the gentleman, one of the gentlemen was not a landscape architect,
here, let me hold this.
but he did this design. So if you can see this, so here's what's going on, okay? The way I understand it, this is the protected area. Y'all correct me if because I was really confused today, but this is the protected area. This hole that has been dug out to put fill up here so that he would not, as he told me, would not have to pay any more money to get fill dirt from an outside source, is to do it in-house. So he dug out here, so he's removed, if these placement of these existing trees are correct, he's removed all of these. This detention pond has now shifted this way. Now, I can't tell if any trees have been removed from that, but this is definitely. And so I explained to him that to have under the drip line, the ordinance of having the protection, tree protection fencing, he'd have to go from here all along here and wrap it around the back of this. Well, what they've been doing is they've been using this for access to get back here to do excavation. And as he told me today, they will continue to use it because there's a sewer connection that they have to do back here. And the only way that this
Been over
machinery
on
can.
that.
I'm
just-
sorry.
I've been over on that sewer connection.
So, but there's a couple of trees, of large oaks right along this edge. It's already been scraped. The compaction is horrendous right there from the heavy machinery going over it. If he had put the protection fencing up, they would not be able to run over the roots of those trees. My take is a couple of those trees will die.
And just out of curiosity, have they paid the 2,800 into the tree bank?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's also gone into, okay, so Mike, so they're not doing, so is this the planning commission, Wayne, or is this us? Do we send this to the planning, no, we report directly to the
I'm
BOC.
gonna have John go over there and look at those. If you'll, James, send me an email on the violations there. Are they on here enough, that you?
They're on there. I think they're on Mike's report.
Okay. I'll try to get John to look into it, and if I have time, I'll go with him, but, where the sewer thing is, there was actually some problems over there between the easement between two houses. There was some scrub trees, from what I understand, it was cut down over there, but, but that was in the easement that the Water Authority had. So in order for them to be able to get through there, they had to, have those trees cut down.
So originally, how many trees were they taking out? And so now the trees they were protecting, or you think now are not gonna, they're not being protected, number
Oh, no.
one. They're doing excavation in the protected area.
Yeah, they're going right through the middle, into the middle of that, so that's why I had you to read that part on the ordinance.
Is that like an inventory plat? Does that just collect some trees, or is that a tree protection plan? Like, is there something that's, is there a plan,
There is,
this area is protected?
there
and all
is,
these trees will stay?
there is this existing tree inventory that they are
Put that
required
for
to do.
assumption of
Right.
what's gonna stay?
And then the only, on the plan, and it was very vague, but on the plan, there was only a couple of trees that were actually listed in here by name, and that was over here. So my understanding when they first approached the board was that this whole area was to be protected, so that they would not have to pay or replace.
Well, on this existing tree inventory, I think it's very interesting that tree number 3, they've marked as probably damaged. Tree number 4, they've marked probably damaged. Tree number 8, tree number 11, 12, and 13 are all marked probably damaged.
But they're still required to count that in the.
Yes,
in the
correct.
Inventory.
Yes.
But this is where, and the reason I'm asking these questions tonight, is that, first off, that the way the ordinance reads about the grading, filling, and ditching in the tree protection area is prohibited. This is the first time I've seen this in all the years that I've been on this board, that this was, and to be this blatant. But the idea that this other area that they was designated protected, and protected means that they don't remove any trees out of there, they don't go in there and do the grading, filling, ditching, and because that is a tree protected area.
So would they have had to gotten permits to do that excavation?
That's part of the grading that they got originally. They got a grading permit.
But that would have excluded this right here from them going inside the protected area,
What do you mean excluded it?
but because they're not allowed to go in there.
Okay, that's what I mean. So if their permit said you cannot go in this area, then how, so they're in violation of that grade
I
permit?
think they're in
So
violation
now
of,
we get a stop work order and they can't do any more work.
that would be my suggestion,
Yep.
but that's up to codes to look
Right.
at that, and if they're that far out, which it sounds like they are, as far as cutting unapproved trees, as far as the ditching goes, as far as the tree protection part of it goes, I would think it needs to be stopped, but that's again, it's up to codes. It'd be stopped until it's corrected.
I'm
That would be my
concerned about-
recommendation, codes.
I'm concerned about the retention pond being moved too.
Yeah, they can't just do
Yeah,
that.
and I'll tell you, I know enough, because I've built enough of these bio-retention ponds over the years,
Yeah.
that we can get just a 2-inch event after saturated soils, a 2-inch event, and I'm really concerned about, this is, the apartment complex is sitting,
Right there.
it's, the apartment complex is right here, there's the subdivision houses right here. This is, the overflow is now right there, okay? This has been shifted this way, so the overflow is here. And it's already been compromised. They have not used any retention materials, coconut logs, jute logs, or anything. It has not been reseeded. In fact, it looks like it's been freshly excavated. But it's been compromised because I actually saw a couple of places where that's already caved in along this edge. This is what concerns me. This point of this pond is actually here. Now, it has nothing to do with the tree commission and this board, or actually my particular duties as city arborist, but I have some grave concerns about what has happened from here over in this. And this big ditch, which is on this hole here,
How big are
Big enough for a chair.
it's as wide as long as this table is long.
You're kidding me.
And I took photos of it, yeah.
In the protected area?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, see, for some reason in my mind, when I
John
heard
has
they
been
dug a
over there
hole.
and seen it.
14 feet?
So if Codes has been there to
It's
see
10 to
it,
12 feet deep. Yeah.
if Codes has been there to see it,
I'm not aware of that myself. Maybe John without, let me know anything
All
about
right,
it.
we can just pass this around if you like.
good heavens.
Here, I'll let you go. So I'm shooting this photo with my back towards the parking lot, where the parking lot would be, so I am standing about right there,
Okay, and this
checking
is,
this photo
Facing the
this way.
apartment.
and this is what?
That's not, that's right here.
Are
It's-
are you facing the apartments or are you facing,
I'm facing the apartments over.
Okay.
Yes, yeah,
And
my back
what
is to
is this
the.
being dug out for?
He says it because it would cost them too much money to go off-site to get the fill dirt. To
You're
make
digging
the-
holes in
for-
them?
For filling for this.
or where they get the dirt to fill that hole? This sounds like something that Bugs Bunny would do. Oh, yeah, debris, and then fill it
I
up and
got a
then get very
feeling
little
he's gonna
dirt.
grade this down and push it into. the
Which is
little-
another violation. Which
But
is
it-
another violation.
Yeah. And the,
They can't move that pond.
They've already moved it.
they've already moved it. It's
They've already moved
It's
it.
already, it's not, it's way, yeah, it's.
That's just like Scott just said, that's an engineering problem right there, that they violated the engineering of the.
I'm trying to rack my brain in planning. We talked about their pond because it was so deep,
Yeah.
and they adjusted their pond, but they didn't move it. They adjusted the depth. I think they made it
adjusted the depth.
wider.
Yeah.
Well, now they've moved it.
Yeah, that won't work.
I think the fact that this is so close, this site is so close to downtown Hamlet, I would invite everybody to go by there during daylight and look at it.
Well, okay, so Wayne, so
That's right.
that's the water in the pond today?
I think what I'm gonna do is Will will
Look at
be
the
here
water
next
in the pond
Tuesday.
today.
Yeah, that's.
Will will be here
awful.
next Tuesday for the planning commission. I'll see if he can come earlier.
Well, Wayne, they can do a lot of stuff between now and next Tuesday.
We're, okay,
Yeah, I think they're going to too.
Work order put on
Yes.
right now.
and it's washed.
I see, when he said a hole, I envisioned like a hole, like I envisioned.
It's gone past the silt fence right down there.
Well, and
They're going to
they
use it
probably
to
think since they're
cover.
a church, they can do whatever they
I
want.
mean,
Well, when they
'cause
came to this commission to begin with, it was all very, if y'all all remember when they appeared here, it was all very scattered information. It was very not put together
Yeah, they were a little frustrated about what we were asking of them.
because of the they also wanted a waiver from putting up the barrier plants because, you know, the apartments and the subdivision and all those headlights, and so they were kind of, but everything was kind of scattered. So there was never really a good plan.
If they've removed more trees, then they owe us more money.
They owe us more money. My concern is, can the damage they've already done be corrected?
So why
I
did
believe
they
some
move
of
the
it, most of it
pond,
can.
you think?
If they have to bring
I don't
topsoil,
know.
that's
Oh, well, you talking about the main,
have to bring they'll have to fill it with, field fill, and then bring topsoil back in, so it can grow back like.
Sounds like that guy was talking too much.
But the compaction of the ground around around the protected area, Mike, can that be corrected? Where the soil is compacted?
Like tearing roots up.
All right, so Wayne, is there gonna be a stop order before next Tuesday?
I'll take John back out there, and see what we need to do.
Can I make a suggestion? Probably take John out there, but call Will and let him know what's happened.
Wait a minute, I can't, I,
Call Will and let him know what's happened and what degree it's gone to, and get his advice on the stop work order, and that way it would be engineering part of it, because that's what it is right there. Engineering codes violation.
thank you, Terry. Okay,
Sound good?
and if the tree protection is not done, then they will owe more money into the tree bank?
Well, sounds to me that there's been trees taken out, they owe more money, period.
And the damage to the trees of using it as a road.
I would be glad to go back in and do the inventory. They did not really do an inventory.
No, they did
Of
not.
that protected area. I'll be glad to go in and do an inventory of the existing trees, and then also check on the quality, because some of these trees are gonna die because of, they've been hit with some, and the guy told me, he says, well, that looks like, I don't know how that happened, and it was fresh. There was still that fresh sap look in, it just recently was done. So I not only to inventory the existing trees, but to maybe even check on the quality of the survivability on some of those that have been damaged from either compaction or even worse yet, that they actually hit the trees.
Mike, let me ask you this, was it like a foreman there on
His
the
name
job
was
site?
Clay. He didn't give his last name, I think for obvious reasons, but he says Clay. And, he may have made that up,
His name?
Clay.
Clay.
I thought it was very appropriate that his name was Clay. He's working
He
for Clay.
He
His name's
says,
Dirt. His name's Tree.
he says, I'm really just the guy that does the excavation. And,
But doesn't he have to have some sort of a, doesn't he, if you can't just go in and excavate without some sort of an excavation plan, can you?
Grading plan, you gotta give it, how much dirt you're moving.
Well,
Bring a
okay,
permit, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta get a permit with the amount of dirt you're moving.
okay, so do we need to make an official recommendation to the board or to
I've
you?
got enough information, I think.
Okay, and you'll let us know? See, when you said that they dug a hole, I instantly thought,
like the size of a tree.
yeah, good grief. But then when you said pallet and a chair, I got a little suspicious.
It's like to me that it is a typical, where the construction debris goes in there to be burnt.
I didn't think you could burn you cannot burn debris in a protected area.
But I'm just curious, as I don't know, I'm just a tree guy. But is there an ordinance in codes about burying construction trash?
I haven't run into it yet, Mike.
It depends on what it is, roofing, stuff like that, I believe there is.
Yeah,
Anything that becomes a hazard.
right.
But as far
Paint, they can't do stuff like that.
as burning,
Wood and stuff like
Scrap
that.
wood.
scrap woods, actually burning the scrap.
Except you can't burn in the protected area.
Can't do it in a protected area.
No,
No,
according to the
that's
tree
a-
ordinance,
it's
you
a
cannot,
change.
you
It's a
cannot,
change in the protected area, you can't make any changes. in the
right,
protected
you cannot burn in the protected tree area.
Should we go back to G and closer to protect down the road even better?
Wayne, do you need to take this with you when you, the G?
Jane can email me all the
I would say those
violations,
pictures
but I
need
have
to
this
be
right here,
emailed.
so this will be something I can go on. But
I'd say
Um,
yours and Terry's pictures.
I haven't visited the site up above, I've visited it below in that easement from, I forget the name of the road there, but, you know, that was.
Pond without coming back to the planning commission.
That's, I don't agree with that 100%.
Oh, man, that's
That's,
huge.
that's
And
an
it's holding
engineering
water
thing
like
that they
that?
violated, in my opinion.
That's what's scary.
And what's scary would be if it overflows and it's going directly into the apartments.
Flood them
Or,
and then.
Yeah, which is what's happened in my neighborhood.
So Mike, if you and Terry will send your pictures, add it for those.
Mike, this, when did this come in? How did you get alerted to this?
I'm sorry.
I think I
How did you
did.
get alerted to this?
Well, I drove by there a couple of times today. I actually stopped so I can have this, you know, because I had thought from the last meeting, or even a couple of months ago, that we were talking about requiring the tree protection fencing. And and it was never done, so. And that's where I was confused. I didn't know I was supposed to go by. So that's, you know, Terry and I went by there today.
I didn't know whether some of the neighbors might have seen some things. I didn't know whether some of the neighbors might have seen some things.
Because even me driving by, it, me knowing nothing, it looked like a highly suspicious construction site.
But this hole, now that you know what this hole is now, I don't remember, at least from the road, seeing it from the road, I don't remember that being too long ago.
Long to dig that hole.
No, it would not, you know. And the trees, I also have photos of the tree, the cut ends, and the cut ends of some of those trees are like this, and they're fresh. So I would say that hole was, you know, if it's true what he's saying, that he took dirt out of there to use up for the pads of the parking lot just got laid, the gravel. So it would make sense and that's what, you know, and maybe that's typical practices, is to take soil from here, to put over here, Robin Peter, to pay Paul over here, and not go outside the site. But again, the question is, how are they gonna fill that hole?
You mentioned the trees that are about this big. You
There's
say they look fresh
a
cut?
10 to 12 inch caliber trees.
I think those was the ones that was cutting that easement. There's, look, how many? It was about 8 or 10.
These are, yeah, it's about a dozen, but they're not, I would not call them scrub trees. I mean, they were beautiful hardwoods. The guy telling me that they came from where that hole has been dug.
'Cause
And
I saw the where they'd cut them about that high. It was, you could see it up
that's-
through the easement
I'll
there.
tell you, these
But I was
trees-
looking from the street below.
I don't think this guy, and again, I may be wrong about this, because
Clay.
I'm not a contractor, but I don't think this guy would have taken those oaks they were beautiful. Somebody's gonna take them. I mean, it's good wood. He stockpiled them there right next to where he cut them, which is right where that hole was.
I have a question for my own information, because this is truly a question of how does this work? So, once everything's approved, planning commission, tree commission, everybody approves a plan, and a developer starts building, does no one ever check on that?
They have to have certain phases where John goes out for inspection. There's a foundation inspection, so you've got, and then there's a framing inspection. Then when you have the electrical, there's an electrical rough-in inspection. So you have all these inspections that go on in place.
Is there a grade inspection?
The final inspection, you inspect.
So you could do all sorts of stuff on your original grade, and nobody,
But you'd be looking at, if you have a grading plan, you'd be looking to see if you matched your plan. Your elevations matched, your removals matched, everything like that.
At the end.
Right.
Brandon just went through all those inspection phases.
At the very end, you've already done all the damage, so
Yeah, but if we have something that says, you said you were gonna do this, and you did this, and we have every right to say, we're not gonna give you a certificate of occupancy
Yeah,
until
yeah, you just don't issue the
until
certificate.
we approved.
but,
Sits there.
but still the damage has been done, and sometimes it cannot be fixed.
And they don't
That's
get
what
a-
I'm
They
asking.
don't get a permanent CO until it's fixed.
But I think bringing it to attention here, that we can bring it to John's attention is good. It's enforced by John. So we can tell him, hey, you need to get over there. Because, like you said, he's only going for inspections. He might have 20 inspections in a day and never make it to that side. You get hitting other things. So I think it's good for us to bring it to him and say, you need to go make a special trip to go look. to try and put a stop to it.
But the reality is, in some cases, it may not be noted till the end. and
Exactly, yeah, right.
It all could just sit there for indefinitely till it's fixed.
We want to prevent this from happening, I think is.
So how do we do, is there a way to do that?
I think what we're
Right, by
doing,
sending.
I think what we're
John
doing is fine, because if we impress it more when they come to the boards for approval, then, when they go for inspections, you know, John's right on top. I mean, he's, you know, so I'll find out if he's had any reason to inspect this.
Well, I mean, I know, I understand that part, that, and John's busy, I mean, he's not gonna go by there unless there's a red flag raised.
Right.
Is there something that can be put somewhere so that before it gets to this point, so the first inspection is the foundation inspection,
Great. Great.
grade? Oh, so there is a grade inspection. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was I thought that was,
first permit would be a
This really
grading
doesn't-
permit, but
until
there
you
wouldn't
get-
be a grade inspection at the front end.
No, but until you get over to where he's changed the retention pond,
Footing.
he could dig that hole in an hour. Poof, gone. I mean, you don't.
Right.
You know,
He
so
could've been
it's,
there and done an
you'd have
inspection
to
and
keep
done the
somebody there to keep it from ever happening. And especially if they're inexperienced or not, don't know what the rules are. But the simple thing is you put a stop work order on them and don't give them a certificate on it. They've got a lot of money sitting there until they attempt or make satisfactory improvements back to what it's supposed to be.
right.
Which
But-
is the right kind of dirt going back in, if there's more trees to be planted, go back in, those types of things. And that's really all you can do once they're out and cut, so.
But forget the whole part. I mean, where they were not doing the proper barriers. I mean, is there no inspection for that when you put up your first protection barriers? There's no inspection for that?
There's not, if you disturb over an acre, you'd have a Tennessee Department of Erosion Control with a TDEC would have to approve your plans. But
But there's no one to make sure that you're doing I mean, like this, I mean, he had a plan, but he's not put any of the barrier fence up, he's not done any of the stuff, they're using
it'd be a daily job for one codes enforcement guy to sit on every job to try and enforce just that, not including his inspections.
well, no, I'm not saying to sell on the job, yeah.
To prevent, like they're saying, he might have left and some guy who just hopped on the machine and went to town thinking, oh, this is best, I'll dig a hole and take some of this dirt.
Well, no, I'm talking about the hole. I'm talking about the fencing not being up. I'm talking about the road being used instead of protected.
I-
If you don't know that barriers up unless there's gonna be something done.
Why wouldn't they take heavy
They're doing
equipment if they're
something they weren't
building?
supposed to be doing to begin with.
Well, okay, well, if you're building, why would you not have heavy equipment?
No, I'm saying, if you're bringing in soil,
I'm talking about the soil.
no, I'm talking about for the parking lot. If you bring in soil someplace else, there'd be no problem, because it wouldn't be running into that
From
But-
off-site.
from off-site.
But I'm saying initially, when you start doing anything on this property, you're supposed to put up the fencing. It's not up. So is there not an initial, when you start, could there not be an inspection done of, have you done all the things required of you in your plan?
I'll have to find out from John what his inspection process.
Okay,
is on
that's
that.
what I like, because it appears that,
Will may have some of the guidelines there, because I know on the silt fencing and stuff, we went through a lot with Caspian Hills several years ago. We had to change the storm water that was running off into, son's house was one of them.
There's about 20 of them, and it crossed the road, Buckler
It was
Road.
actually causing places to be flooded and everything else. So we changed that several years ago to be more stringent on the silt fencing and check dams and that type thing.
Their pond's gonna be dumping into Caspian.
I cannot believe they can move a pond like that. Oh, let's just move it because we want to put a
But they
playground
can't,
here.
they can't.
That's,
That's insane.
that's what I'm saying, if we have a plan, if the city has approved a plan, okay, you have to do this, 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 and this before you start building. Could we check to see if there's any kind of inspection that required? Because it appears to me, if I'm saying to you, I'm gonna do this, 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 and this, and I've not done it, and I start building, I'm automatically in violation.
I'll check into it as best I can.
Okay, let us know. Thank you. Okay, update on the tree bait funds. In Wayne, we should have an extra $2,800 from here. Have I skipped something?
300.
I was trying. National Arbor Day plans, 6.2.
In your little packet I gave everyone, and Scott.
Tree City?
that There's information on how to become a tree city. And one of the requirements is that you do something for National Arbor Day. I sent this. I gave-
National Arbor Day or State Arbor Day?
This is,
I bet it's national since this is the National
Right, so-
Arbor.
So.
April.
We used to
Give away
celebrate.
trees.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
and
we
it
can
said it
probably get
doesn't
that.
have to be a big thing. But it'd be good for all of us to read through all of the standards, requirements, to see how much we have completed and what we do need to do. But with Arbor Day really just around the corner, you know how it sneaks up on us every year. We might want to be thinking of what we'd like to do just to meet that standard.
Could we not use our,
We could extend that, I think, the roadscapes.
thank you, I'm glad you knew what that meant. Yeah, I mean, why,
Between you and waving your fingers, yes.
I think it'd be perfect timing for the dedication to Dan. Keegan.
Arbor Day, I think that would,
Now, that's in April, but although we could do it early, I don't see as
You
long
got
as
2
we-
Arbor Days.
Yeah.
So,
We can do it
if y'all
kind of
want to do it
combo
that would that
state.
qualify? The dedication of the roadscapes?
I would,
It says it doesn't have to be, it could be, you know, just something very small or an all-day thing, so I think that would definitely qualify.
Had it wrote down.
But I wanted to make sure, I didn't know that, I kind of figured people wouldn't necessarily go to websites, so I just made a copy of this so people could read and we could all kind of know what we're working towards.
okay. Can I go ahead now?
You may go ahead.
Thank you. I depend on you to keep me in line.
So we really need to be serious about it on the next meeting.
Yes.
Let's,
To play devil's advocate, is there a way to make them present a tree protection plan saying, this is where, because if I'm the builder, I'm gonna come in and go, this plat says where there's existing trees, it doesn't say that this is my tree protection plan and I have to protect around it? Or does that designating what's there is saying you're gonna leave these here and these are automatically in the plan?
Yes.
As long as that is, you know, in words that is presented to them, then they would have to stick by it. Just trying to think of both ways of,
Getting around it.
yeah, that's right. Or thinking like the mindset if I know it was out there.
No, once you come in with your tree, with your inventory and what you're taking out and what you're leaving, you have to protect.
Yeah, we've got tree inventory over there, but we don't know how accurate it was.
I don't either.
Different story, yeah. Contingent upon.
Okay, update on the tree bank funds.
yeah, but it's always the
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. If you'll let me elaborate on a couple of things. First off, the balance is $97,941.77 with the $300 deposit.
Wait a minute, where's the $2,800 from the church?
It was already in the total.
Would you read that again, please?
$97,941.77. That was several months ago that they paid that. Okay.
Let's check that.
There has been something bought that hasn't come out of this figure yet, and that was $648 for redbud trees that we picked up. Was it right before Christmas, I believe, Mike? That hasn't been in its fund balance yet.
And they're going here.
Yes, yes, ma'am, they're part of the city tree that we're trying to establish.
So that's still part of the 97?
No, they
not
haven't been
come out yet.
deducted from the 97,941, has not been deducted
come
yet. When we sent the check, it was written out of the general fund, and it takes a while to get all that back in the right category. The next thing that I need to suggest is to hold on to this money until the roadscapes project is completed. As y'all well know, we get an 80-20 reimbursement, but we have to front that 80 up front before it's released back to us. It usually takes 4 to 6 weeks for TDOT to reimburse. So rather than have to touch the general fund, I'd like to hold on to this until we get our refund from the from the estate.
At 46 weeks, is that reimbursement, is that from completion of the project? Yes.
Okay. And do we, and I don't, that's no problem, as long as we have some sort of,
Documentation.
that it's coming back into the tree bank.
Tom Doherty, I can guarantee you'll have the documentation.
And the 20 together, upfront purchase.
If front to 100%.
You have to 100%.
They'll reimburse 80.
They'll reimburse 80. So
So,
we already know that we're out 17,000. But we also paid for the advertisement for the bid that wasn't part of the grant. So that's another figure that we're going to pay for out of there just yet. So that 17,000 might fluctuate a little bit. But first off, we haven't got the bid in yet, so somebody might come in under bid, you know, or under budget. So I can't really quote that just yet, but I'd like to hold on to the rest of this money for right now before we expend any more expenditures from it. One other thing I might.
wait. I would request that Tom or you or someone send an email to Jane so we can attach it to our information that it will be used, but will be reimbursed directly to the tree bank.
It has to go back into it. There's no other way around it.
I would prefer paperwork.
The next thing that I might need to say, as far as the sign goes. It cannot be paid for out of the tree bank fund
How come?
because it's not a tree.
Wait a minute. It says for improvements, there's a lot of reasons it can be used.
Well, I've got a legal opinion on it, and he says we shouldn't pay for
How
it out
much
of
is
the
the
tree bank
sign,
fund.
how much is the sign
I
going to
don't think
cost?
it's going to be under $500.
Okay.
The definition that we had earlier on that was for improvements.
I am so thrilled that we cannot use tree bank money for that,
It's like for the lighting of the signs for the city, or that's not. We've already got it approved that it can be used for other things besides planting a tree. Am I right or wrong?
if there's been a legal opinion issued,
We've got an ordinance up there.
I will confirm that.
Okay.
We've already got it, I don't wanna go out and buy whatever kind of junk it is, but it says it can be used. If you look under the definition of it, Lisa, am I correct in that?
Right. Landscaping, is that considered landscaping?
Yes, landscaping, it could be streets, it could be fencing, it could be any of those type things, am I right?
I'm not the, okay, well, I hate to say this, but if the legal opinion, I think, overrules all of
I'll
us.
be transporting Larry Thursday to the meeting here, so.
What about the ad in the newspaper, if we pay for that?
We looked at the opinion on it, didn't we?
Because
Am I right or
it was-
wrong?
Because it was part of the tree.
But the legal opinion,
Yeah, but that's an opinion.
well, we're paying him for something. So, you know, if we're gonna argue with him every time he disagrees with somebody,
What we need to do is get the person planting all the trees to buy the sign, part of his bid
Hey, good idea.
in there. He'll install it.
Yeah, because we had a big, long discussion about what could be used for, and we looked at the definite definitions of what it was for, and he might agree.
I understand that you agree and that Lisa agrees and Mike agrees, but if the lawyer tells you that that's not right, then, you know, it's kind of like going to court.
That's his opinion, and this doesn't mean it's right or wrong,
Anyway, I'll find out for certain.
because that's a flip-flop from what we had earlier, am I right?
I agree with you on those. I do remember the sign issue coming up at the welcome signs.
Okay. Any citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
Just explain to me, when we remove the loblolly from the approved tree list,
That means that developers cannot plant them.
they what?
Developers cannot plant them.
Okay, thank you.
That was easy. Okay, when is Tuesday, the 2nd of February? And Wayne, if,
Groundhog Day?
yes. And Wayne, if you will send us an email and let us know what happens with the church property, and make sure that Jane gets an email about the funds going in and going out and coming back in. That'll be wonderful. Meeting is adjourned. I'll never beat him, will I?
How's Larry doing? I know it, I didn't get to talk.